Well, good morning, Central Georgia. Hopefully each and every one of you had a great weekend, especially the official start of summer. One of the few takeaways from this past weekend was, of course, the mainly dry weather and the hot weather. We had temperatures into the mid-90s, especially yesterday. And unfortunately, that's going to carry on into the next couple of days. And we can expect even warmer temperatures for tomorrow. Here's a look at all the sky cameras in Central Georgia. We're not even seeing a cloud in the sky, seeing clear conditions all throughout Central Georgia. A little hazier off towards the west as compared towards the east. So you can see the Perry sky cam having mostly sunny conditions, a little hazy there. Same thing goes for Warner Robins and for downtown Macon. But for Dublin, look at those nice crystal blue skies looking like the ocean over there. Just generally beautiful stuff here in Central Georgia. Now the current number in Macon is 82 degrees with mostly sunny conditions and the winds are calm, but notice the feels like temperatures already reaching the upper 80s, seeing a 5-degree difference there. That means that the humidity is starting to take into effect with the actual temperature. So the feels like temperatures are going to be really high today, and that's just going to be the name of the game for this week. So here is the headlines for today. A mostly dry start to the week. We'll have really low rain chances for today and for tomorrow. We'll be confined at 10% at most. You'll just see a sprinkle or maybe a pop-up shower similar to what we received this past weekend. But of course, the main story is an extremely warm stretch where we'll be entering a heat wave where we'll have high temperatures. So today, mid-90s are expected, but for tomorrow, upper 90s and potentially the triple digits in terms of actual temperatures, meaning that we'll see some of the hottest temperatures so far this year. Let's look at all the temperatures across the southeast, and you can notice the board filled with orange here, showing consistent temperatures all across the southeast. So we're seeing temperatures from the lower 80s here, especially here in Macon. And then we have higher values more down to the south, so mid to even upper 80s. And this is going to show that we're already heating up. It's the morning, it's the 10 o'clock hour. We haven't reached noon yet. So once we get into the afternoon, we'll be well into the 90s throughout all of the southeast. Now looking at the temperatures here in Central Georgia, we have lower 80s and a couple of mid 80s in some spots. So in Macon, 82 degrees, 83 degrees in Warner Robins. And the higher spots are towards the south, Unadilla, 84 in Rochelle, 84 in Eatonton. And in terms of comparing this to this time yesterday, seeing actually some places are running a little bit warmer. So we have Abbeville, Eastman, McRae, Soperton, Dublin, and Wrightsville all having values 1 to 2 degrees warmer than this time yesterday. But if we head off towards the northwest, so if we include Macon, Roberta, Thomaston, Butler, seeing no change to even a little bit cooler than this time yesterday, especially for downtown Macon, seeing a 1 degree cooler value than this time yesterday. So the winds are also extremely calm. All across the board, we have calm values throughout. The highest sustained wind in Central Georgia is in Cochrane with a 5-mile-per-hour value there. And this is just going to continue for the rest of the day. Wind is going to be a non-factor. The most we'll receive in terms of gusts is a 10-mile-per-hour light breeze coming from the east. And I'll show you that with the future view wind graphic coming up. Here's a look at the satellite and radar. Absolutely quiet, and the sky camera showed that completely. You didn't see a cloud in the sky, and this is exactly what's happening right now in the south and in the Peach State overall. Let's zoom out just to see the bigger view of the southeast, and we're not seeing any rain throughout. The only shower that has popped up is towards the coast of the Gulf, just south of Panama City. I was just seeing a slight shower or a thunderstorm there, but for the majority of the southeast, not seeing anything in terms of rain or storms. And there is a reason behind this. It's because we're under the influence of a high pressure system, and specifically a ridge of high pressure, meaning it's an extended area of high pressure which drives out all the rain, drives out all the precipitation. So that decreases the rain chances, and that also increases the temperatures, because whenever you have rain and whenever you have storms, those precipitation, that limits the heating for the afternoon, and it also cools down the atmosphere. So without rain and without storms, well, then you're going to increase the potential for higher temperatures throughout the day, and that's exactly what we're seeing with this extended area of high pressure all across the eastern seaboard. So for today, it's going to be a mostly sunny day. The heat will remain. and we'll have afternoon highs into the mid 90s, and we'll have sustained winds coming from the east at 5 miles per hour. And we're expecting the temperatures for this afternoon to be sort of similar to yesterday, where we reached 94 degrees exactly in downtown Macon. I think it'll be similar to that. But of course, the real warm stuff, the scorching hot heat, will come tomorrow. Now, of course, with the humidity in place, we'll have high feels like temperatures here in central Georgia. So for Macon, we're expecting triple digit feels like temperatures right around 2 to 3 o'clock. And we could potentially reach 102 degrees for later this afternoon. Here's a look at the temperatures for the next coming days. Tomorrow's the day where we could potentially have some of the warmest stuff we've seen all year. We're forecasting upper 90s, and some models say triple digits. However, I will lean a little bit towards the upper 90s rather than the triple digits. I still need some consistent model consistency to really pull the gun and say we're going to have triple digits for tomorrow. So I'd say we'll reach 99 degrees, maybe a little lower, but in all honesty, the actual temperatures really doesn't matter, because what really matters is the feels like temperatures. As with this humidity that's present all throughout the summertime, we'll definitely have feels like temperatures in the triple digits, not only for today, but definitely for tomorrow. Now, we're also forecasting upper 90s for Wednesday. I am a little skeptical about that, because we're expecting higher rain chances for Wednesday afternoon and evening. And that's going to limit the overall heating throughout the afternoon because, of course, as I mentioned earlier, rain and storms generally limit the amount of heating that occurs throughout the day, and it cools down the atmosphere. So depending on how widespread the rain is for Wednesday, we could have temperatures underperform that number and potentially be into the lower 90s or maybe the upper 80s. But one thing for sure is that we'll be into the lower 90s in the afternoon for Thursday and for Friday. Now, in terms of the morning lows, not seeing much change, a little bit warmer than average. Tomorrow, or not tomorrow, sorry, we woke up to 70s in some places earlier today, actually had upper 60s on the board, especially in Dublin, Wrightsville, and in Eastman. And I think tomorrow will be the same story, lower 70s, some spots waking up to the upper 60s. And then for Wednesday, I think that'll be the warmest start to the week, where we'll have temperatures into the mid to lower 70s. But all in all, I'm not saying an extreme start to the day where we'll have temperatures in the mid to upper 70s, in which we've seen in some days in the past summers. Humidity is actually going to decrease over the next 2 days, thankfully. However, it's still going to be humid no matter what, so that's the reason why our feels like temperatures are certain to reach the triple digits today and for tomorrow. But it's not going to lead to some extreme feels like temperatures, such as values reaching 110 degrees, which would definitely warrant a heat advisory. But our humidity that will then rise back up to muggy on Thursday. We'll have dew point values into the 70s. And notice here, the time when the humidity returns, that's when our rain chances return in the afternoon and evening, where we'll have those pesky pop-up shower and thunderstorm chances that we've seen all throughout the month of June. That's going to return for the second half of the week, just because of the moisture being brought back into our area. So here's a look at the feels like temperatures over the next couple of days. Of course, later this afternoon, we have the potential to reach the triple digits. This model saying the upper 90s. I still think with our afternoon highs, if it hits the mid 90s, then I say for sure we'll hit the triple digits here in central Georgia. Let's look at tomorrow. So tomorrow afternoon, triple digits there. The saving grace for tomorrow is that just slight decrease in humidity. We're not going to be at comfortable conditions. It's still going to be humid, but it's not going to be enough to cause extreme feels like temperature. So we'll definitely hit triple digits tomorrow with the mostly sunny skies there. And then for Wednesday, it's indicating once again triple digits at around noon. This all depends on the timing on the rain and storms moving in on Wednesday. We'll have to really monitor this. But if this model is correct, then noon is going to be a really scorching hour with feels like temperatures once again already hitting the triple digits right after the morning hours. Then, as you notice, we'll be going back down to the 70s later in the evening and then to the upper 60s into the overnight. Here's a look at the future view. So the rest of the day is going to be mostly sunny. The most you're going to see is a pop-up sprinkle or maybe a really light shower, but that's the most you'll see. I mentioned earlier, you'll have rain chances at around 10%, mainly dry day. The sunshine will be felt all across our area. Same thing goes around the evening hours into the overnight. Barely seeing any clouds, starting off the day with mostly sunny weather as well. And then for Tuesday afternoon, maybe some low-lying clouds, but all in all, still a mostly sunny day with a 10% chance of rain. Very similar to what we're going to expect for later this afternoon. A pop-up shower or a really slight sprinkle is the most likely scenario in terms of rain for today and tomorrow. Everything changes for Wednesday. So once again, Wednesday starting off mainly dry with mostly sunny weather. Here's the rain and storms that I'm talking about. 1 o'clock, noticing that we're seeing a little bit more blips on the board. 2 o'clock, we'll have some organization. And there we go, 3 o'clock, we have rain and some storms affecting us throughout that time. Organizing a little bit more there, indicating some downpours around 4 to 5 o'clock. And then dissipating by the evening hours, still some lingering showers by the 6 to 7 o'clock hour, and then fully dissipating into the late night hours, and then we'll be back to mostly clear on Thursday morning. But don't get too locked in on the timing. Just know that in terms of the afternoon and early evening, we just have the chance for some scattered to widespread showers and maybe some storms. Now, I mentioned the humidity returning back to our area for the second half of the week, and this is why I mean that the pesky rain chances, the chances of rain and storms throughout the afternoon that are isolated and scattered, that's going to return, that summertime pattern as we call it. That's going to return starting on Thursday afternoon, lingering into the evening. Then once again, we have those chances for pesky pop-up showers and storms Friday, and the same thing goes for Saturday and for Sunday. So hopefully this is not enough to affect any weekend plans. I know we have fireworks celebration plans here in Central Georgia for Thursday and Friday. So hopefully that doesn't dampen any of those plans for those times. Now here's a look at the outlooks for today and for tomorrow for Central Georgia. Absolutely nothing. We're going to expect mostly sunny weather, so there's no chance for severe weather here in Central Georgia today. Same thing goes for tomorrow, nothing. Only a level 1 for the northern states near the Great Lakes and the Midwest. Nothing there. But for Wednesday, we just showed you the chances for showers and storms moving in the afternoon and evening, and we have a level 1 for all of Central Georgia for Wednesday. But this is a very low-end level 1, so generally the chances for severe weather is low at the current moment, but we just have to fine-tune the details and really just review the dynamics of the potential for storms. But as of right now, severe weather chances are relatively low. We're not expecting anything crazy as opposed to those powerful springtime storms that we've seen in late March and early April. Here's a look at the wind gusts. So I mentioned earlier, I showed you the current winds and it was calm throughout. Winds are not going to be a factor for us at all today or tomorrow. At most a 10 mile per hour gust for later this afternoon. This could continue into the evening, but otherwise it'll be a calm day in terms of winds, maybe a 5 mile per hour sustained wind here and there coming from the east. This repeats for tomorrow. Wind is going to be a non-story there. And then for Wednesday, the morning will be calm with breezy, or not breezy, with slight wind conditions, a slight breeze coming from the east once again. But notice we have this wind coming into Charleston right here, providing a 22 mile per hour wind gust there. This is around 10 o'clock in the morning. That's the forecasted rain that's expected to move through Central Georgia into the afternoon and into the evening hours. So it's interesting that this graphic is forecasting this already. Here's a look at the attire recommended for today and for tomorrow. So I recommend dressing lightly. So having a t-shirt and shorts, that would be fantastic. Sunglasses, it's going to be mostly sunny. And then something that's underrated is the sunscreen. You really need the sunscreen today and tomorrow, especially for anyone that is expecting to hit the pool after work later today. Sunscreen is going to be very important. And then, of course, the main thing is hydration. Please stay hydrated because those feels-like temperatures, they'll catch up to you and you'll sweat a little bit more than a typical summer day. So these are the recommended attire. Another thing to consider is to dress with white in mind. So white colors will absorb the heat easier rather than if you wear darker colors. That will then retain the heat, making it a little hotter than it actually is. So if you can dress brighter white attire, that would be very ideal for you, especially with the hot temperatures forecasted for later today. Now, we actually have some developments from the tropics. The Atlantic has actually been very quiet so far. We've actually had one area of low pressure that has been released by the National Hurricane Center earlier this month. That didn't come into fruition. Now we have our second area of low pressure, and this actually is now the most likely area of low pressure to produce a depression or a tropical storm. We have a 70% chance of development over the next 2 days and a 70% chance of development over the next 7 days. And this is coming from the 8 o'clock update from the National Hurricane Center. And they said that the most likely timing for this area of low pressure to develop and anything in terms of a depression or a tropical storm will be later this evening. But then, since it's moving towards the northeast, it will be moving into an area and an environment that will be less favorable for development. So we're not expecting anything strong, and we're not expecting any impacts from this potential storm because it's moving away from the mainland. So it's going to affect the fishes. That's why we will call this a fish storm. But if it turns into a named storm, it will be called Andrea. Now, in terms of the frequency, I've talked about how this hurricane season has actually been very quiet in the Atlantic. So hurricane season starts June 1st in the Atlantic. We typically see our first named storm by June 15th. We haven't seen anything yet. And the height of hurricane season should come around September 10th. Now, for those who remember, Hurricane Helene actually came 2 weeks after the official peak of hurricane season. So we haven't seen anything yet. Hopefully it stays quiet because, of course, we don't want any hurricanes. We want all the hurricanes, any tropical storms to stay as far away from Georgia as possible, especially as we are nearing the 1-year anniversary of Helene. Now, I mentioned that if anything develops later today or tomorrow in the Atlantic, it will be called Andrea, and the next name after Andrea would be Barry. Here's a look at the 7-day forecast. So the next couple of days is going to be filled with warm temperatures. Today we're expecting our afternoon high to be into the mid-90s. Tomorrow will be the warmest day of the week and potentially the warmest day of the year so far. We're forecasting upper 90s. There is a chance that we could reach triple digits in terms of actual temperatures, still leaning towards upper 90s at the current moment. And in terms of rain chances, 10% chance of rain for today and tomorrow. We're still under the influence of high pressure, so that's going to lower our rain chances. At most, we'll see a sprinkle or maybe a pop-up shower, but nothing more. Rain chances increase on Wednesday. We have a 60% chance of rain and storms, and some of them could be widespread in nature. And we're forecasting upper 90s, but it all depends on how much these showers cover central Georgia. If they provide large coverage over our area, then that will cool down the atmosphere, preventing temperatures to overshoot and be really high. And then once we get into Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays, the second half of the week, we'll have the return of those pesky afternoon and evening rain chances where we'll have those pop-up showers and storms, what we call a summertime pattern. And the temperatures will decrease, but the humidity will rise there.